Look at my Star Trek toys! Whoosh! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Look at My Star Trek Toys. Today we are talking about something different. We have jumped timelines. We have jumped universes. Now, we have spent an extensive amount of time on this channel talking about Playmates 1990s era Star Trek toys, the ships, the figures, and everything in between. But in 2009, they rebooted Star Trek movies. J.J. Abrams, of course, put out
very shiny, lots of lens flare,
all the lens flares in the world, and went back to our original series cast and recast them as very young, attractive people to put forth Star Trek. Now, of course, whatever you feel about the Abrams verse and the alternate timeline, and I think, what did you think of that movie series?
I thought they were cool. I remember going to the movie theater with a couple of friends that weren't Trek people at the time, but we enjoyed them. And Jen and I just watched the first one again. It was on UPN or something like that, and it's fun.
That's a lie. I don't think UPN exists anymore.
Oh, well, wherever it was, one of those like channels where there's just all commercials, but very angsty. That first one's much more angsty than I remembered.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it has it's an interesting mixture of contemporary movie stuff, sort of tone wise. It looks phenomenal, and I think the cast is great. It's tough to do Trek in a movie if you haven't had a series to establish everybody. And they had to reestablish the entire world and all of these characters all again in a movie. But I think it's relatively successful. But you want to know what was not relatively successful?
The toy line?
The Playmates Toyline. So Playmates, after having given up on its 4.5-inch figures, the legendary line, they're like, oh, they're going to reboot it. Let's hop back in and do a whole mess of figures based on this movie. Of course, in 2009. But, we all love those Varner Studio crafted 4.5-inch figures. It's definitely going to match that. No, it's not. In fact, they did 3 different lines of figures from this movie. They did 12-inch, 6-inch, and 3.75-inch, along with phaser, tricorder communicator, and 2 play sets.
They went for it.
They half went for it. So we are going to show you today the first of our series of unboxings and openings of some of these Playmates figures from 2009. So I just went on eBay and I bought myself the first lot of them because I have not ever seen them before in my life. So I don't even know what to think yet about these figures. So going to be very interesting. So we're going to start here with the 3.75-inch Kirk figure. Of course, now it's Chris Pine. We don't have Shatner anymore, but we do have Kirk. So you can see here, now the figures are, it's weird after spending so many years with the 4.5-inch or the 5-inch scale to have the 3.75. These are G.I. Joe scale. These are the Galoob scale figures. So it feels super, super tiny to me, but that's just because that's what I'm used to. But we have this cool box. I think the box design is great.
Yeah, the box is real cool.
I think it looks really interesting. And you can see on the back all of the other figures of this scale. They made 10 of them at this scale. But right here on the back, Mike, what's that?
Is that the bridge? Like a bird's eye view of the bridge where they sit?
It is the bridge.
The seating chart?
All right. So here's where we get into the interesting part about these figures. So they sold, one of their play sets was the bridge from sort of like the Enterprise D bridge. But in order to complete this play, you bought the play set, but the play set wasn't complete because the only way you could build out the whole bridge was from pieces that they put into the 3.75-inch figure line. So you needed to buy all of the figures in order to complete the play set. So you had to get all of them and get all the pieces. So this is piece B9, and so they were all labeled as what they were. So, okay, fine, you've motivated me to buy all the figures as well as the playset. But Mike, what do you think happened? Now, of course, it's Playmates, right? And we just went through the 2023-2022 Playmates world. What do you think happened with this set?
So clearly, one or more of the figures didn't get made, and so you could never complete the playset.
Series 2, which was going... So there's 10 of these and 10 playsets. Series 2, they were going to do 12 more figures for the DVD release. Guess what? Never happened.
Wait, so the playset, you needed both series?
You needed both series, and Series 2 never came out. So if you bought the playset and all the pieces... no one has ever been able to complete the bridge playset, even if you bought the playset. And
there's someone working over at the studios right now who's maniacally laughing because they have the one prototype.
Well, I'm going to put a link below. There's a Trek Core article about it, and somebody was able to get their hands on some prototypes and maybe start 3D printing. That's the only way you can finish it. But Playmates abandoning stuff halfway through and pissing everybody off. That's a pretty good example here. But without further ado, what do you say we get into this figure here and go at it with fresh eyes and see what we think about this line? Let me see if I can do this. Now, of course, it's an old thing, so this has been retaped or reinforced with tape. So I'm going to cut in from the side here and get into this figure. Now, perhaps because they didn't bother to finish any of it, these figures are not particularly expensive or hard to get your hands on if you want to go on eBay and get some. And they did not continue making figures for the subsequent 2 movies in the Abrams verse either. But it is very interesting to see all of the various options at various scales. That they came out with 3 different scales for these figures. All right, I think I've gotten in without murdering myself too terribly. All right, so we can see in here in our 3.75-inch Kirk. We can take off that, and let me see if I've cut myself. Nope, hooray. So this is, okay, there's the playset is seat-belted, so let's get to that last.
Is the chair also part of the playset?
The chair is also part of the playset. So we do get a stand, which also, it has a back to it? Oh, I bet that's for something with the playset. I'm not clear what that is. But Playmates got the stand so you can hold the figure up, which is great. Always an important part of the process there. It's got a chair.
Chair's kind of cool.
It is. It's interesting. It's very sort of like retro 70s bucket chair. Interesting for Playmates. Playmates never, or very rarely, has metal. And that is an actual metal screw in the bottom of the chair. And that's interesting. Come on. Why won't you focus? Oh,
you got
trust
a wood
me,
block?
it's a screw.
Yeah,
there it is. Interesting chair. And let's take a look at our Cadet Kirk, our Captain Kirk, our young, aspiring... Oh, he does have a seatbelt. Oh,
and they belted the G.I. Joe in? Sheesh.
Yeah, and this is going to be something to get into, too. I mean, how did you expect kids to do this? And they have smaller hands. Yeah, so they actually had a piece wrapped around another piece. What in God's name? All right, there we go. And the seatbelt's like tucked into the figure.
Wow, that is...
Oh my God, that was intense.
Okay, well, okay, here we are. It's G.I. Joe style.
Right.
We need to get you a wood block, buddy.
Got too many things. There
okay.
we go.
It doesn't look anything like Chris Pine, but...
It does not. It does not. So, articulation-wise, it actually reminds me more of the 2022, 2023. It's got, you can see the joints. It's got sort of a ball joint-ish sort of.
Is that phaser built in?
The phaser is separate, but strapped onto his hand.
Yeah.
It's seat belted in. I probably should have left that, but you can see the phaser there. It's painted, which is nice. Has his hair onto his forehead there. I was like, is he a Trill? What's going on there? Yeah, it doesn't so much look like Pine. Also, is his Delta not painted? Is it supposed to be painted and is not?
Yeah. It's just yellow.
Where's the
Yeah, it's gold on if you look at the picture on here.
Oh, that's a 6-inch scale. Okay. But on the back of a 3.5-inch, yeah, it is supposed to be painted and is not.
Okay.
Painted. Come on. There we go. Yep. Forgot to paint that. And it's the articulation is a little stiff, but you'd imagine that these are only 15 years old. God, it's 15 years since that movie came out. Good Lord. But you can see how they've articulated the butt there. And he does have a little bit of hip swivel.
Okay.
Which is okay. And little foot swivel. So the articulation of this actually feels much more like the 2022s than the 90s version. Interesting. I don't know what's going on with the paint there on his forehead.
Yeah, it's
like he got he's
it's like he tried to mull it out, but then he was like, nah.
Well, I think what's happening is he's Rudying. I think he's Rudy Giulianiing, and he's leaking his hair dye on his head.
I'd be wondering, I imagine that maybe the quality control on the larger scales is a little better.
Well, let's hope so. Okay, so is he individually numbered? That's a good question. There is a number. Can I get it into focus?
Yeah, there is a number.
Yeah, okay. Let me look at my eyeballs. No, I think that's R9071, which is, I think, the part number. I don't think he's individually numbered.
Okay.
Alas. Okay, so he's got a base to put his foot on. So he will.
It looks a little bit more substantial than the ones we get in the 2022.
Yeah, it
Definitely
actually
thicker.
It is. I don't know what that clip is for. So let's so now we have to, oh my God, go through horrible, miserable seat belting for the piece of the bridge that will never be able to be completed.
Wow.
Let's yeah, boy, that's playing dirty pool. We're gonna do all that and then not give us a chance to finish the bridge because it's not even just like the figures, the playset. You literally sold a playset, which is like a screen and then like a base to put all these things on, and then you literally could not complete it. That was really dirty pool. So B9. So if you want to start building out your bridge, that is how you do it. So you've got your little phaser, got a little stand there. I mean, like, if it looked like Pine, I don't hate it.
Right.
It just doesn't. Let's do a we can do a spinner pass here if we go to my one shot.
Hold on, coming.
There we go. All right, there's my one shot. Let me get out of there so it focuses, and let me turn on the spin. Give him a chance to rotate. Really get a sense of what his deal is there. Yeah. I mean, okay. Sure. What do you think, Mike?
Keith, this sounds tongue-in-cheek, but it is not.
Mm-hmm.
The way you said it and the delivery of how you said it is my exact feelings. Okay. Sure. I mean, the resemblance of what his butt looks like as to what a regular butt is about the same as what he is to what Chris Pine looks like.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. What's your butt look like? Here, I'll rotate behind him. It all match. Yeah. So, okay. All right. So this is the start of our 2009.
I'm going to say, Keith, I'm actually going to do a hot take. I would say this is closer to terrible than it is to serviceable.
Uh, it's all about the facial sculpt for me.
Yeah, it's got
Like, because
I
it's-
mean,
it's
I can
not Varner
forgive you a
Studios.
lot. I can forgive you a lot of toyness, right? But if it doesn't even kind of look like if you handed this to me and said, "Who is it?" No, I'd have so many guesses before we got to Chris Pine as Kirk.
I mean, like, and Chris Pine is already generically attractive white guy, but like this figure is like even more generic.
And this is like Kirk is the flagship of your line, right?
Right.
Right. It's like
Basic-
it's like messing up Picard.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. If you
Tough way to start.
if-
Tough way to start.
it's an interesting start, but we are just beginning because we have many more to unbox. Maybe they'll get better. You want to know who doesn't get better? Us. But who does get better, Mike?
That's the patrons. They make us at least, more real. They make us resemble a podcast more than that action figure resembles Chris Pine. And I will keep their names here and save reading them today. But
All right.
we love them, and you can join the team, patreon.com/K&M.
All right, we will see you back next week as we continue our dive into the mediocrity, both with ourselves and on the figures, with another of the 2009
I think
Playmates.
next week, who knows? We might be something else next week too.
Who knows? Some sort of a week we'll continue this series.
There will
Thank
be
you so much.
toys. They will be looked at.
There will be toys. All right. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you back next week with another episode of Look at My Star Trek Toys!
I prematurely whooshed.